I only bought food for myself. My roommate Marcus had been living with me for 6 months when I discovered he'd been stealing my food. Not just occasionally grabbing my leftovers, but systematically eating my groceries before I even got home from work. I'd buy a full week's worth of groceries on Saturday, and by Tuesday, half would be gone. At first, I thought maybe I was eating more than I realized, but then I started noticing specific items missing. Like, I'd buy these expensive protein bars for post-workout snacks and they'd disappear overnight. Or I'd come home planning to make dinner only to find the ingredients I'd bought were already used up. Marcus always had excuses. Oh, I thought that was leftover from before. Or, I was starving and didn't have time to shop. He'd promised to replace things, but never did. Meanwhile, his side of the fridge stayed empty, except for some old hot sauce and expired energy drinks. The breaking point came when I bought ingredients for a dinner party I was hosting for my work colleagues. I spent $80 on this nice steak and fresh ingredients for sides. I even splurged on this fancy cheese I'd been wanting to try. I came home Thursday evening ready to prep everything, and Marcus was at the stove grilling my steak. He had the nerve to wave at me with the tongs and say, "Hey, hope you don't mind I used some of that meat. I had friends over earlier." There were dirty dishes everywhere from my ingredients. I completely lost it. I told him he'd been stealing my food for months and now he'd ruined my work dinner. He just shrugged and said I was overreacting, that roommates share food all the time. Then he offered me some of the steak he was cooking like he was being generous. That's when I decided I was done being accommodating. I told Marcus I'd be buying my own food from now on and keeping it separate. He rolled his eyes and said, "Whatever works for you." The next day, I went shopping and bought only what I needed for myself. I got a mini fridge for my room and moved all my food there. I also bought a small lockbox for pantry items and kept it in my room too. Marcus didn't seem bothered initially. He continued his usual diet of instant meals and takeout, but after about a week, I noticed he was getting irritable. He'd stand in front of the open fridge for several minutes just staring at his meager collection of condiments and leftover pizza. Then he started dropping hints. He'd comment on how good my cooking smelled, or he'd suddenly show interest in what I was making for dinner. I ignored him and continued eating my meals while he heated up another frozen dinner. Things got pathetic when he started guilt-tripping me. He'd complain about being broke and how expensive food was. Once he said his stomach hurt because all he'd eaten was cereal with water since we were out of milk. I reminded him that I'd never bought communal milk. He'd just been taking mine. The turning point came when his girlfriend Ashley visited. She opened our fridge looking for something to drink and said, "Marcus, why is your fridge so empty?" Marcus got embarrassed and mumbled about needing to grocery shop. Then Ashley noticed my mini fridge when she used the bathroom and asked why we had 2 fridges. Marcus tried to act like it wasn't a big deal, but Ashley figured out quickly that I'd stopped sharing food with him. Later, I heard them arguing in his room about how he needed to act like an adult and buy his own groceries. After 3 weeks, Marcus finally asked if we could go back to sharing food. He promised to reimburse me for everything he'd taken and would ask permission before eating anything of mine. I told him absolutely not. I said he'd had 6 months to be a decent roommate and chose to steal from me instead. Trust, once broken, doesn't just reset because you get caught. Eventually, Marcus started buying more food for himself, though he complained constantly about grocery prices. Our living arrangement became much more peaceful once boundaries were established.